So we kind of talked about art filters already. Now we're going to talk about a really fun filter which has a ton of use called the Liquify. So the Liquify filter lives up in the menu just like the regular art filters. However, I'm going to grab this lion. So there are two different uses for this Liquify filter. So number one, this filter is used a ton in magazines, and this filter is actually one of the main culprits of that body image distortion that our culture is having some issues with this filter giving people the ability to alter models. I'm not going to show you on a human model. I'm going to show you on an animal. So Liquify can make it look like you haven't eaten very much food if you start distorting bodies. So this filter is very overused in certain industries, which shall remain nameless. You can reconstruct this by going kind of back in time here. Now he's back to his normal healthy self. And I can make him look like he ate a lot of food too. So it goes both ways. I can give him a nice round lion. This is the Kim Kardashian lion. And then we've got, his legs. So, and then I can kind of make his ears kind of. Don't do this to your friends' faces. They will get very upset at you. You're not allowed to do this to them. I'm going to hit reconstruct and go back here. And then I've also, so this is there's the pucker and the blow. That's what I was just showing you guys. I have a really nice tool here, which is called, it's the finger tool. It's like a smudge. And you can do this for like tiny little things. Like maybe I don't like his hair kind of coming out so much. Can I zoom in? Let me see. I can zoom in. So Liquify is one of the most versatile tool set we have in Photoshop. It is amazing. I mean, I have portrait clients that they don't know I do this to their faces, but I conveniently make certain areas of their body much more proportional. And then they are like, oh, when I get Alex's photos taken by Alex, like, oh, I look really great. And then, they don't always know my Photoshop secrets that I might be, strategically editing certain, certain things, beauty retouching. So anyway, so I can kind of just move his hair a little bit, this lion. I can kind of gently shape his, wow, that looks really distorted, actually. I can reconstruct it. Let's go back. Here's my healthy lion. Healthy lion, there we go. So you have a lot of different uses for this tool. But again, you can do very subtle things if you're not gonna pucker. You can kind of just make it look like he's a little more muscular, or maybe his tail needs to get just a tiny bit longer. You just kind of grab your thing, and maybe his ears need to look his face needs to look a little wider. Oh, it looks kind of weird. Oopsie. Reconstruct. So I could kind of, and this reconstruct button kind of lets you go back. It's kind of a weird, I don't know. It's kind of a weird dial. So I'm gonna, that's kind of like your body editing tool. Now this tool, I actually use this tool for something else, which is reflection. So here's kind of my lion, and then let's grab a duplicate lion. And then I've got, we have that transformability, edit transform. I'm gonna flip it vertical, and I'm gonna kind of move it down. So now I have what looks like a lion reflecting in the water, but it's kind of not quite there yet, you see? So I have a couple options at my fingertips. I can lower the opacity to get this lion to kind of look like a reflection. And that might pass if I had really great light and it was a calm, still river. And I've got, kind of my blending modes that I can do, soft light. That's kind of the finishing touches. What I care about here is that it looks like it's kind of reflected. So I'm going to select this with my marquee. And the reason I'm selecting it is Liquify is a processing intensive filter, and it will choke up a little bit. So if I select it, it won't apply it to my whole picture. I'm going to click the Liquify right here. And now, this time I'm not going to be body distortioning. I'm going to be liquefying. Like I want it to look like it's a liquid reflection. So depending on my brush size, over here on the right, do you guys see I've got this size option where I've got kind of a big brush, or I've got a small brush. I've got pressure, density. You kind of have to fuss around with some of these options. This is new down here, face aware. That's if you're editing people or you do portrait photography or magazine work. And you have some other options. I'm going to kind of show you the basics of it. So I'm going to grab a small brush. And my goal, again, was to make this look like it is liquefied, like it's reflecting in a puddle or something, or a lake or whatever. So I'm just kind of going back and forth. And at this point, I don't actually care if he's distorted because my goal is to make it look like it's distorted. I'm going to click OK. And then now I've got a little bit more of kind of a realistic ripply effect going on. And then I can go back and do this kind of treatment with the opacity, kind of knock it down a little bit. Or I can kind of put it on one of these blending modes, overlay. And then I start getting much more of a realistic perspective. You can also, now this is a straight on angle with reflections if you've ever fooled around photographing reflections. You can also do things like transform, let's see, try perspective for instance, and you can kind of mess with this even more depending on what kind of project you're working on. So I'm just kind of applying some finishing to that, or and hit escape. Let's say my light was off to the side instead and I was trying to make it look that direction. I could kind of go back once I'd liquefied it and just kind of make it look like the light was over to my top right rather than straight on. Do you guys kind of see how I'm doing that? So you can kind of match this up, kind of mess around with it. The big takeaway here is the Liquify tool has two purposes. It has a body affecting distortion quality, or it has the ability to make small or big size ripples when you're doing reflections in your work, which is a fun thing to do. It's a big trend right now in photography to have reflections in your work. Most of my work actually has reflections, like little pools or magical ponds. Even at the beach, you can add like really, really subtle reflections, and it adds this depth to your image. Because now, if I turn this off, see how much more exciting my image is when I've got this reflection. Even if it looks slightly fake, there's ways to get this kind of more realistic depending on what you're doing. So that is the Liquify tool, okay? So go ahead right now, turn on your computers and focus on the Liquify tool, and then in about 15 more minutes, I'm gonna show you guys the other tutorial for warping.